Next up is the ESPN Daily. Good morning, good evening. Exactly 103 mornings ago, I opened this newsletter with a comment about how life had become incredibly reminiscent of the movie Groundhog Day. The April 15th version of me was so naive. Here's your ESPN Daily. That was 103 days ago? Didn't I read that on here? April 15th. I don't remember. Listen up. The NFL's next steps. The NFL and its players' union have reached an agreement, and pro football is moving forward with a 2020 season. Training camps are set to open this week. There won't be a football bubble, as teams plan to play in their home markets. There won't be a preseason, as that has been eliminated. Yep. Fuckers. There won't be a lot of time to decide, with just 7 days for players to announce if they'll report to camp. But as of now, there will be football. On today's episode of the ESPN Daily Podcast, ESPN NFL insider Dan Graziano joins to explain how the deal came together, what training camp will look like, and the latest news from around the league. Things to care about. Jets get one heck of a haul. The Jets parlayed a safety into one of the richest NFL hauls in recent years. That is, a safety who doesn't intercept the football, a safety who wants to be paid like a pass rusher. Yeah, Jamal Adams gave the Jets lemons, and they made lemonade. Does that proverbial phrase work here? I think it works here. Not only did the Jets unload a guy who has been billed as a me-first player whose poisonous attitude threatened locker room chemistry. It's the first I've heard of that. But they also got a package from the Seattle Seahawks that includes first-round picks in 2021 and 2022. Somehow, general manager Joe Douglas managed to extract a quarterback-type return from Seattle, also acquiring a third-round pick, 2021, and safety Bradley McDougald. The Jets never wanted to trade their best player, but sources said they would consider it if they were blown away by an offer. A package like this, in spite of Adams jeopardizing the Jets' leverage with what can be described only as incessant public whining, that's too good to pass up. Rick Simony divulges how New York came out on top by dealing Jamal Adams after the star threw temper tantrums on Twitter, ripped the Jets organization on social media when the team didn't give him a grandiose contract extension on his preferred timeline. No fans, big problem for MLB stars. I'm sure it is. The list of ways that Major League Baseball is different this year could possibly run longer than the league's health and safety protocol, but for all the oddity, nothing will alter the experience for players as much as having to perform without the audiences that give them instant feedback, adrenaline, anxiety, and focus. Baseball fans have missed players and been starved for games since the mid-March shutdown. Now it's the players who are missing the fans. For the first time, they're being forced to proceed without the benefit of that codependent relationship most of them began developing as children when they first felt the emotional rush that accompanies cheers of approval. I don't think I've ever had that. The empty stadiums present an enormous change for players who might have leaned on the fans more than they ever realized. Players will find out how much their internal fuel is augmented by fans climbing to their feet in 2-strike counts, or the wave of optimism that accompanies each hit during a rally. Christian Yelich, who played his first 5 seasons with the Miami Marlins, often in front of a sparse crowd, spoke about the adjustment, saying that players must find a way to replicate some of the emotion that filled stands provide. Maybe it comes from a teammate, he said, or maybe it comes from within. Washington Nationals reliever Sean Doolittle mentioned that maybe he will try an extra Red Bull or coffee, or maybe he will recruit a teammate to scream at him. Doolittle's plan sounds legit to me. We scrolled Twitter so you don't have to. From SportsCenter, Jason Tatum reading to his son over FaceTime is so wholesome. Night reads. We see a brown bear, a red bird, a yellow duck. Not sure what book that is, but it looks like the same art as the Hungry Caterpillar. Jason Tatum is in the NBA bubble, but that isn't stopping the Celtics star from reading bedtime stories to his 2-year-old son, Deuce. Deuce? That's his literal name. It's Deuce. Tatum brought his son's favorite books with him to Orlando, Florida, so they can read together over FaceTime. I've babysat enough in my life to know that the book featured in the above photos is Brown Bear, What Do You See? 10 of 10 would recommend. Things to watch. Bryce James for the win. Over the weekend, Bryce Maximus James, gave the internet a gift. The middle child of LeBron and Savannah James performed a spot-on and hilarious impersonation of King James in front of his brother and mom. Bryce can be heard inquiring about Bronny's height while doing an impeccable rendition of his dad's mannerisms. Meanwhile, his mom can be heard trying to keep it together. Yeah, just do yourself a favor and watch this pure comedy. Well, since I don't actually watch basketball, least of all the Lakers. He's on the Lakers now, right? I think. Anyway, I wouldn't know how good of an impression it is. Overheard. Leave it alone. Just enjoy the memes, lol. Lou Williams to a Twitter user defending his actions while on leave from the NBA bubble. Remember when? On this date in 1984, Montreal Expos first baseman Pete Rose recorded the 3,053rd single of his career, breaking the record he shared with Ty Cobb for one day. Rose's record still stands, although it might not be the spiciest record to be the sole proprietor of. Achieving king of the singles status is commendable nevertheless. Until next time, remember, some personal news. My weekly screen time report revealed that my usage is up 230% to an average of 27 hours a day. This has been your ESPN Daily for Monday, July 27th, 2020. Ew. 27 hours a day. How is that possible? Thank you, ESPN. Last of all, we have Yahoo Sports Read and React. Trending. Mike Ditka really doesn't like players kneeling during the anthem. Good. At least somebody's going to talk about it. Astros' Justin Verlander shut down for 2 weeks with forearm injury. Fox Sports' virtual fans are not exactly a hit with real fans. President Trump won't be throwing out a first pitch at a Yankees game after all. No, everybody hate on President Trump. Don't let President Trump do any other presidential stuff. Nope. Everybody hate President Trump. So, what the heck is going on with Bill Lambert's hair? I don't know who that is. Baseball's odd first weekend shows how sports are now. There's a bunch of giant teddy bears in the stand. Morning, folks. For the time since 2019, we had real baseball this past weekend. For the first time. That's missing a word. For the first time since 2019, we had real baseball this past weekend. Was it real, though? Is it real baseball if there's nobody in the stands to watch it? If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? America's pastime isn't really America's pastime anymore. The NFL, the NBA, and brawling on social media all have more of a claim to the term than baseball does. Still, there's something about the rhythms of a baseball season. Starting when the air gets warm, carrying us through the long days of summer, finishing out just as the weather turns, that just fits. Missing that this spring was a minor element of the whole panic, but a painful one nonetheless. But now baseball's back, and just as the sport has returned to a changed America, it's come back in a different form. Like soccer, it's trying to navigate the challenges of social distancing in a team sport. Like the NFL, its off-field issues very nearly derailed the entire season. No. Okay, when you talk about the NFL, you say, like the MLB, their off-field issues might have derailed the entire season. No, the MLB was the architect of off-field issues. And like the NBA and college sports, it's trying to operate in a bubble that's all too easy to burst. Is it wise to be playing baseball in a panic? Is it wise to be playing baseball in a pandemic that really doesn't actually qualify as epidemic anymore? It doesn't even count as being a deadly disease. It has higher survival rates than cancer, which we also aren't requiring a vaccine for. That's an irrelevant question now. It's happening, like it or not. The challenge now is keeping everyone involved as safe as possible. As safe as possible. Safety. When the world started becoming more concerned with safety than anything else, that's when we started going to shit. Specifically the country. Specifically our country. When we started being more concerned with safety than literally anything else, our jobs, our well-being, because in this case, our well-being and our safety are two very different things. Our liberty, wise or not, oh, I can tell you what's not wise, and it's not what you're talking about. We're out in open water, and here are some observations on just how different a sport we have now. The piped-in crowd noise worked for me. Like golf, baseball works just fine when you're half watching it, and the crowd noise is perfect for that. Matter of fact, as I write this, the Braves are pasting the Mets 9-1 in New York, and the home crowd is appropriately muted. Considering how pathetic the Mets look, the home crowd ought to have a whole lot more dock worker level cursing, but you can understand why that wouldn't be possible. On the other hand, despite my pleas, it turns out that virtual fans really kind of stink. They're not present in every shot, just wide ones, and they look a lot less vibrant than, say, armies charging across an alien landscape. Cutouts do the job just fine, even if sometimes they make for good targets. Yeah. I mean, virtual fans are kind of not a very good idea if it was just for viewers at home, because as was addressed on the ESPN Daily, I guess, the fans and the noise from the fans are really more important to the players than the viewers at home. The new rules take a little getting used to. Pitchers aren't batting in the National League anymore, which I always liked, just because it kept a pitcher from getting too brave throwing brushbacks at the other team. On a larger scale, the new extra innings rule aimed at getting games over faster has brought immediate results. Turns out that starting an inning with a man on second base does in fact pick up the pace. Oh, and there's now a pronounced social justice component too. Oh, brother. For the first time in baseball history, multiple teams and players, including members of the Yankees, Giants, White Sox, and Nationals, knelt to support social justice causes. Given the ever closer intertwining of sports and social justice, it's likely we'll see much more of that across all sports leagues in the coming months. And we'll see who is against it. Who are the better people? Who are the actual brave people? Thing is, all of this is fragile as a chandelier in a hurricane. The most crucial element of the season remains yet to be determined. That is, how will positive tests affect teams as a whole? We've already seen players from the Marlins, Braves, Reds, and Nationals test positive right before and even after the start of the season. How will baseball track the spread and contain outbreaks? The answer to that question will determine how the rest of this season goes. When, let's be hopeful and say when, not if, the season winds to its all-too-soon conclusion, we'll see yet another change, an expanded playoff that includes 8 teams from each league. That means more fan interest, more postseason baseball, more money. Meantime, let's take the briefest of moments to enjoy this one scenario. It's almost August, and every single team in the league is within 1 game of first place. Ah ha ha ha. Wetzel, who would have thought strip club wings could burst bubble? Yes. I didn't know they were wings from a strip club. Brown. Shohei Ohtani returns to his pursuit of two-way stardom. Okay. Thamel. The cycle of delay and hope in college football. Oh, college football. As soon as I get this mask on, I'm going to give you an earful. Now that they've got to wear masks and keep socially distant, well, managers are going to have to kick like they're in the NFL if they're going to get dirt on an ump. Okay, whatever. That's it for Yahoo Sports, and that's it for Sundry Sports. Thank you and good night.